Hey, good evening. It's Monday, November 1st. I know I told you this morning that I wouldn't be here tonight, but thankfully I added the phrase Lord willing when I said that. And right after I did the video and published it, I got a call from the hospital saying that they had rescheduled the procedure until January 11th. So, in God's purposes, the videos will keep going, and I'll wait another couple of months for these procedures to be done. And again, thankful for God's care. So that's why I'm here tonight, and not getting ready for the procedures tomorrow. So we'll continue with the things that God has for us to look at. We're talking about the praise of God and honoring Him, making Him foremost, having His love uppermost. And when we see the power of God, when we realize what's happened to us, what He's given to us, that should bring something of a heart of joy to us, an overflowing heart of joy, because of the mercies of God that have been poured out to us. As Paul says in Ephesians, through Christ, the mercies of God have been lavished upon us. Well, David was not afraid to show how grateful he was for the mercy of God and the grace of God. The ark had been away from Jerusalem, so when the kingdom is now reunited, early in 2 Samuel, David orders for the ark to come back to Jerusalem. So they're bringing it back, and there's a great procession, and there's joy, and there's excitement, and people are literally jumping up and down. David, the whole house of Israel, were celebrating with all of their might before the Lord, with songs, with harps, lyres, tambourines, sistrums, and cymbals. This is a big deal. They're making music about it. They're dancing about it. They're excited about it because the ark is being returned to where it's supposed to be. But then something quite shocking happens. See, they weren't transporting the ark as God said, with poles so that they could run through the little barriers there so the ark would be secure. It was in an ox cart. The oxen stumbled. The ark was about to fall off. And Uzzah, one of the people there, wanted to protect the ark, but God had said, don't touch the ark. But he reached up to stop it from falling, and God killed him. Because the priests had not been careful, because people had not been careful. They were transmitting God's ark in a way that God said not to. And it cost Uzzah his life. David was initially upset with this. And the joy ceased for a moment. So he had the ark brought to a place, Obed-Edom, because he wasn't sure he wanted that holy thing. He wanted any connection with that holiness. But then he became aware of the need to have the ark restored, and he brought the ark back to Jerusalem. And again, he's excited about the ark of the Lord, the ark of the covenant coming back. So the joy returns. As Dale Ralph Davis points out, the fear of the holiness of God should not stifle our joy, but stimulate it. The awesome holiness of God should not stifle our joy, but stimulate it. And that's what we see David here. Psalm 130 says that with you there's forgiveness of sins. Therefore you are feared. We are joyful because God does not hold our sins against us. So David is rejoicing. So David went down and brought the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with rejoicing. When those who were carrying the ark of the Lord had taken 6 steps, he sacrificed a bull and a fattened calf. David, wearing a linen ephod, danced before the Lord with all of his might, while he and the entire house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouts and the sounds of trumpets. And then as David approached, his wife, Michal, the daughter of Saul, watched in a window, and she saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in her heart because he wasn't being proper. They brought the ark of the Lord and set it in its place inside the tent that David had pitched for it. And he sacrificed there, and he was rejoicing in praise. Then Michal came to him, and instead of being rejoicing that the ark was now back where it belonged, she says this, how the king of Israel has distinguished himself today, disrobing in the sight of the slave girls of his servants, as any vulgar fellow would. And David said to Michal, it was before the Lord who chose me rather than your father or anyone else of his house, and appointed me ruler over the Lord's people. I will celebrate before the Lord, and I will become even more undignified than this, and I will be humiliated in my own eyes. But by these slave girls you spoke of, I will be held in honor. And the Lord punished Michal for her disrespect to God, and she was barren. See, she was concerned about being proper. The reason in the title that you see Van Halen, Passion, and David is Van Halen is someone that we think of, if you know anything about the history of rock music, an extremely passionate guitarist. In a way that we may even be uncomfortable seeing the passion of his playing. And if that passion is all there is, then yes, we should be uncomfortable. But if that passion is the way that David talks about it, he's blown away by the things of God, then we as the people of God should know something of that passion ourselves. Our joy should not be, our excitement should not be reserved for football games and rock concerts or things that make us excited. Rather, it should be devoted to God. Passion without a focus on God will ultimately destroy us. Will eat us alive, because we can never be passionate enough to satisfy our own internal drive. But passion, when we grasp the glory and goodness of God, can be a very good thing. And David saw that. So we see the holiness of God demonstrated in the first part of this chapter, when the ark and the honor of God is upheld, and Uzzah dies. But then later in the chapter, when it returns, that holiness stimulates the joy of Israel, because they know that they serve a holy God who has forgiven their sins, and they're safe and secure with that holy God. And that should bring something to us on a level of passion and joy. Don't reserve your passion for the things of this world which have no ultimate purpose. Give your passion to God. There's balance in life. But if all we have is stiffness, then we don't have the balance we need. And that's the thought for this night. So thanks so much for being here. Give your passion to God. Be excited about the goodness of God. Don't let the circumstances of this world thwart what God has done for you. Again, thanks again for your support, your care. Thanks for your prayers. I'll need it again in a couple of months for that. If you haven't turned on post notifications and subscribed, please do that. The videos will come to you automatically. Check us out, everydaytalk247.com. Thank you so much for those of you who support what's happening here. And the Lord give you a good night. A night where you know some of the passion of what it means to know the living God of the Bible. And that's the thought for this night. You have a great night. Bye-bye.